Welcome to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. I'm your host, Coach Brandy, and I'm here today with Coach Adam and Coach Jolie. Hi, how are you guys?
Excellent. Just wrapped up a great morning of training. Busy morning.
Good. I know busy mornings are awesome, aren't they? Like the energy in the room is just fantastic.
Yes.
People killing it in their workouts today.
Yeah. Speaking of killing it in their workouts today, we're going to be talking about pushing yourself, effort in your training session and the importance of that. But before we jump into the meat of the podcast, I wanted to give a shout out to our client of the week. And Jolie, you have this one today, so go ahead.
Yeah, we wanted to give a shout out to Kara Bayers. Kara has been a member here for just over 6 months and has just been doing awesome, showing up for her workouts. I think she's at 3-4 days a week now. Super busy lifestyle, but she makes time for her workouts and was talking to me about just some testing she's gotten done at the doctors lately. Since starting here, her cholesterol dropped 40 points, and she's just been she's noticed her energy levels have gone up since working out here, has just been doing all the right things. So big shout out to Kara.
Yeah, I agree. And she's a great client to mention during this podcast too, because she really does push herself and she tells, whatever coach she's working with, like, push me. I want to get the most out of this workout. So I want you to push me. If you think I can do more, give me a heavier dumbbell or give me a heavier barbell. And she really looks to her coaches to help push her. And I know that she also tries to push herself as well. So she's a great one to mention in the podcast today. So let's dive in. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Yeah, the importance of pushing it in your workout. And I just wanted to start by saying, anybody can come in and complete a workout, right? You can come in, go through the motions, complete the entire workout, and not necessarily push yourself very hard. And yeah, you got the benefit of completing a workout and that's great, but you're not going to get the maximum result of that workout or your workouts over time if you aren't pushing yourself in your workouts. And I think it's really important, especially, as we age, over the age of 40, and as we get into those later years, we start to lose skeletal muscle mass, sarcopenia. And a way to prevent that is really through pushing yourself in your workout so that you can get the most out of your workout, get the increased skeletal muscle mass, retain the skeletal muscle that you have on your body so that as you age, you can be stronger and healthier and, live longer and enjoy your life because you have that skeletal muscle mass. So it really is important. Let's talk about, how do you know? How do you know if you're pushing it through a workout? Well, what's the right amount of effort during a workout? Who wants to take that?
Go for it, Adam.
Okay. Well, I think right now we're in an integration phase in our workouts. So we are in between a hypertrophy phase and a strength phase. So this is about a week long period where we're kind of keeping all of our energy systems in line, kind of ready to go, ready to adapt to whatever comes next. And I think a good way of doing that is we're seeing a mix of different kind of set structures. So we open up with 4 sets of 6, which is obviously a little bit more strength based. And then that second block goes into what I guess would be more kind of a true hypertrophy, which is that 3 sets of 8 to 12. And that's really where, even just this morning while we were on the floor, I'll open it up to people. It's not a set 6 reps, per set. It's a little bit more of a range. And I think that gives people freedom to basically kind of self-assess as they're doing certain exercises. So I'll tell them, start with a weight that you know that you can do any given exercise, let's say a bench press, dumbbell bench press, and anything you can do for 12 reps. So they grab that, and I'm like, perfect, whatever, that's what they think. That's how they assess themselves. So we watch as coaches, we watch for form, we watch for the asymmetries, different things that we're looking for visually, and kind of how their body responds as well after a set, just kind of seeing, just how they're looking. Did they fly through it? Is the weight moving quickly? Things like that then can kind of open our door to then offer what we would call progressive overload, which is where we say, why don't we, the performance here was really good. Why don't we try to increase this weight a little bit, and maybe we could drop the reps by a couple. And it's kind of like a give and take, but it's an incentive to help them realize their true strength and capability, right? So if they can crank out, a set of dumbbell bench press with a couple of 30s for 12, they can probably move to 35s for 10 or for 8. And it's kind of like people get surprised themselves when that happens. And I think it's a good methodical way of pushing yourself, like just really structurally. Like there's not really a lot of emotional investment in that. It's like, did I do it?
Right.
Did I not? Was it easy? Was it hard? And it's kind of a good way to chip along in your workout. So we were implementing that a lot today, that progressive overload idea, and it builds on that muscle building that you were talking about earlier. Just kind of being able to show your muscle new stimulus. Otherwise, you're going to run into that plateau issue that a lot of people have when they train on their own. They just don't know how to really self-assess as you're going, or have someone observing you to let you know that, you can do more than this. So I think that's a good way that we implement. Sometimes I'll tell people, how many more reps could you have gone right there?
Yeah.
You finish your 12, you're like, could you have gotten to 15 right now? And a lot of times it's, yeah, I could have done 15, I could have done 20.
Yeah.
Like, time to move up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just, jokingly asking, but it kind of makes them realize like, wow, yeah, like not they're intentionally sandbagging it, but not realizing their capabilities. So yeah, it's fun to ask them that, and kind of they see them surprise themselves.
Yeah, I think progressive overload, like that's a really important training strategy. If you finish your set and you can do 5 to 10 more reps, then you're probably not pushing yourself as hard as you could. If you're doing a dumbbell chest press using 15 pounds, and that's where you started 6 months ago, and you're still using 15 pounds in your chest press, you probably are not pushing yourself. You should be progressively going heavier with those dumbbells over time as you start to get stronger. Jolie, what are other ways that people can kind of self-assess whether or not they're pushing themselves through a workout?
I think kind of going off of what Adam said too, on it's like what we would call like that rate of perceived exertion, right? It's like I'll ask somebody, at the end of a set and they finish like 10 to 12 reps. I'll be like, okay, like, whether it's another set number of reps, they're like, oh, I feel like I could have done 5 more. And they're like not even breaking a sweat, or just feeling like they're just feeling really good and really strong in the gym. Asked how much energy do you feel like you're putting into this, or like, would you say you're at like an 8-9 level, or and they're like usually I'm at like a 4-5. Okay, like let's take that up a little bit. So I think that little bit of rate of perceived exertion, if you will, is something too.
Yeah, and if you're not seeing like strength gains, or if you're looking, if you're assessing your muscle mass, or you do an in-body scan and your muscle mass has not changed, then that's a good indicator that you're not working to your full potential during the workout.
Yeah, I think, and then that kind of, the in-bodies obviously brings in the whole nutrition aspect of everything, which is obviously we give advice and coaching and things like that on it, but really, once you step outside the gym, it's kind of up to the client at that point to maintain that, determination and accountability as far as that goes. But I always joke with people that the gym is actually the easy part. But that's why you want to try to really push yourself and excel in the gym, because as funny as it sounds, the nutrition's the harder part between the two. I think another way that, besides what Jolie and I have stated already, is kind of, it might be like a little misconception maybe, but rest periods. Mm-hmm. People finish a set, and if they're, done with, I don't know, they just push the sled 1 lap and they're jumping into their next set in like 30 seconds.
Right.
You're like, maybe that could have been a little bit of a heavier sled, but then people are like, well, I'm not pushing myself if I'm taking long rests, but not understanding that physiologically you need to be taking like the appropriate amount of rest so that you can perform to your capacity that next time around. I think that keeps that intensity level high if you're able to go into each set kind of fully recharged. Like, we know that the ATP PCR system is a 90-second reload, right? So if you're working and you're doing a set that's going to take you about 30 seconds, you should be resting a minimum of 90 seconds right after that, so you can hit that next one with the same amount of energy. And then, hopefully, theoretically, you'd be maybe increasing your weight, like that progressive overload we were talking about. So I think people are like, oh, I don't want to like sit around and wait because then, I'm not sweating, my heart's not like racing, whatever. Like, yeah, but that's what the set's for.
Right.
That's where you want to see that happen. So yeah, it's another way.
Yeah, and if you are pushing yourself hard enough in an exercise, no matter what the exercise is, your heart rate is most likely going to go up. You're going to feel like you're exerting effort. You're going to maybe sweat. The heart rate's going to go up. You're going to feel like you need a break or a little bit of a rest period before you go on to the next thing. Yeah. If you just finish an exercise and then you are just really quickly jumping into the next one and getting through what should be an hour workout in 30 minutes, then the effort is not there. You're not pushing yourself hard enough.
It's not always about the speed.
Right. Yeah. Jolie, are there other ways that people can know, if they're pushing themselves enough, or are there indicators that they're not pushing themselves that they should pay attention to?
They're not pushing themselves. I think I do want to call out to pushing yourself in the gym part of it. If we backtrack a little bit, we've talked about this on the podcast too, is like consistency, right? So pushing it can also mean like bumping your consistency. If you're someone who's like trying to put on more muscle, you're making it to the gym 1-2 days a week. Let's try and aim for that 3 to 4 days a week. And then everything we're discussing here, right? Progressive overload, pushing yourself, that kind of comes naturally, right? And so I think consistency does play a big role in this too.
Yeah, and Adam mentioned nutrition, and I think that's really important too. If you aren't fueling your body to be able to perform in the workout, when you come into the gym and you try to push your workout, it's going to be really hard if you don't have the energy that your body needs to push itself during the workout. So you need to fuel yourself, prior to your workout. Make sure you have what your body needs so that you can go in and give that maximum effort during the workout. Recovery is really important as well. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep so that your body is fully recovered and ready to go in and push yourself hard during that next workout. So we've been talking about, pushing yourself and working really hard. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum then and talk about, can you over push it? Is that a thing, and what you should pay attention to if you may possibly be overdoing it in a workout?
Yeah. So I think it's important to know kind of the signs and symptoms of it. The term is overtraining. And essentially that's when the intensity or frequency can actually be kind of too much or too high without that adequate amount of rest or recovery, like different recovery modalities that hopefully people are doing, outside of here. They can find things to do because, being able to maintain and have a good recovery routine, it enables you to, continue to work the way that you do when you do come to the gym. But some signs of that is just overall increased fatigue. Like if you're, throughout the day and maybe you didn't work out that day or have a lift or anything in the morning, and you discover that you're just randomly getting tired, that's kind of odd. When you feel off. You should know when you feel off.
Right.
When you come in and let's see, going back to that progressive overload, you did, let's just go back to the bench press example. You were bench pressing 30s, last week, and you come in, you do your same set and rep regimen, and you're, not hitting them as easily or wanting to go down. That could be a sign of decreased performance. And then obviously just like some hormonal imbalances, I think too. So always kind of keeping those things in mind and self-assessing when you're outside of here, and just knowing when to take rest or getting good amount of sleep. A lot of people don't get great sleep.
Yeah.
You want to talk about sleep?
I was just going to say, I think a big one that a lot of people kind of overlook, they'll just assume like, oh, I couldn't sleep well. And it turns into like 3-4 nights a week where they're like, oh, I just can't sleep well. I don't know what's going on. And I think that's a big indicator for people. Like when stress is higher, right? You've got more cortisol going through your system, those hormonal imbalances, right? It's going to affect your sleep and Adrenal fatigue is a big one. So there's just, I think, don't overlook it if you're having some issues sleeping at night or not getting just a feeling, waking up and feeling like just not rested at all, even if you got those solid 7-8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. It could be really localized too. Like you could just have like an actual area that you could put a finger on, like on your body. You're like, whoa, this is feeling tired or like fatigued or like it's just not firing the same way. So it can be both.
And I think it is good to self-assess. And there are days when maybe going in the gym and trying to push really hard, maybe it's not a good day to do that. If you didn't sleep well, if you didn't have the nutrition that you need, if, you have something on your body that's hurting or not feeling right, like maybe don't push it that day. So I think it is important to self-assess because the last thing you want to do is get injured. So we want you to push it. We want the effort to be up, but to do that in a smart way. And I think we talked about some good strategies, progressive overload, rate of perceived exertion. One that we didn't talk about is, for someone that's been training for a long time and, they've been progressively lifting heavier and heavier, there comes a point when, you can't increase your weight with every single week. So there are different strategies you can do to still push it really hard. Like one idea might be to change the tempo. So, maybe slow the reps down. So you're going slower through that range of motion as you perform that exercise, and that can help to increase that output as well. And I think mindset is really important. So if you're not someone that's used to pushing yourself in a workout, you have to kind of get used to that feeling of discomfort.
Yeah, uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yes, that uncomfortable feeling and what it feels like to push yourself. And that might take time, but mindset's really important. And I want people to know that that is something that should be focused on as well.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. Anything else?
I think we covered it all.
I think so too.
I think so.
All right. Go out there, push your next workout. Your coaches are here to push you as well. If you have any questions, reach out to your coaches at Legacy Personal Training. That's all we have for you. Talk to you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Healthy Living Scottsdale podcast. Do you have a question that you'd like for us to answer live on the podcast? If so, all you need to do is head over to the Apple Podcast app on your iPhone and do 3 simple things. First, leave us a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want related to health, fitness, or nutrition. And if you want a shout out, leave us your Instagram handle or name. That's all you have to do. Then listen to hear your questions answered live on the next Q&A episode.